Our destination?
The beauty of balance.
Let's go for a ride.
Welcome to Girls Trip. I'm very excited because today is kicking off I've kind of lost track. We're not sure. 4, 6, 8, who knows? Week series that we're getting into, all about organization, spring cleaning, closet overhauls, all of that. Not so fun stuff that we're trying to make a little bit more fun.
Yeah,
Yes.
Would you call yourself an extremely tidy person?
No.
No.
She was like, reacted as if we had a lie detector armband on her.
no,
She was
I
like, there's no
swear.
point in lying. I might as well tell the truth.
I want to say yes, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
I'm
I
not
feel
even
like
going to direct
I'm
it over there.
I feel like I'm very middle of the road. I think that people think that I'm very organized to an extreme.
I think you're always put together, and you
When you
like
need to
all
be.
of your
you present yourself like at a certain
and
time.
all of her anything that she's in charge of is always very organized too. So I think people just think, oh well, across the board.
I think I have very good time management skills. And in that way, I'm very organized. But like we all have a friend, Anne Marie. She is the type of organized that people think that I am, and I have an appreciation for her type of organization, but I can't like keep that up. But she's like, everything's color coded, and she has like this very specific type of label for this, project, and like that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's who I just
And I love it.
I know. It's a beautiful
I want to be
thing.
that when I grow up.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's like,
I'll never
when
be
you
that.
watch the home edit, like, and they open the drawers and it's all like,
"Oh."
beautiful. Like she thrives, and that's natural for her. And I get excited about that stuff and appreciate it. But my life, the pace that I move at, that
It's
would
like,
not
no.
be possible. We're lucky if I'm throwing something in a drawer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
I feel like you also have like an appreciation for
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
I definitely have an appreciation for it, but because my husband is so how do I say this diplomatically? He just doesn't see any type of clutter, any type of mess, any problems, and he just doesn't see it. So I think I would drive myself insane if I was just so, and we'll talk about this later in the week too, but it's really, I love things to be tidy just for my like state of mind. It's really important to me. And because I'm not just tidying up for one, I'm tidying up for two, I would drive myself insane if I tried to be 100% tidy all the time. So I've had to let go over the past 5 years. I've had to let go of this like desire to have things kind of really in their place all the time because it's not feasible. It's just not, you have to live life. And
I think that we're already finding a difference in like tidiness and in how we approach things. Like I don't think I'm great at tidiness, but I approach things in a very systematic, organized way.
Okay.
Where I think that is maybe different than average, because like we're going to talk a lot about this in the coming weeks, but Joy recently moved. I still have a hard time breathing when I think about how her and my brother packed up their apartment because it was insanity.
Chaotic.
And I was just like, what is happening right now?
so that's very interesting that you say that, because growing up, we moved. I had one major move in my life growing up. Well, growing up, I had one major move. Later in life, right before I got married, I had another big move. But the one I remembered growing up, I really do think the way our parents do things like impacts us more than we realize.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember being so annoyed. Love you, Mom. But I remember being so annoyed at my mom when we did that first big move when I was like 18 or 19, because it was like, Mom, have you watched a movie? Like, you use boxes when you move, Mom. Like, that's what you do. And there was like this mental block that she had about putting things in boxes. Like, she couldn't do it. Like, it bugged her to no end. She was like, I can't see anything. Things are going to break. It's too heavy to even carry anywhere. It was just, it made no sense to her. And she's like a very, it has to make sense like type of person. So this was also the era of like Marshalls and TJ Maxx bags
Yes,
that
the
came out, like it
gigantic,
just
just throw it
came
in
out.
them.
So this major move that we did, she was like obsessed about just like, for like the month that she was getting packed up, everything just like goes into a bag, and like we just had like 58,000 bags like in the garage. But she like but she like could see everything, and that was like
easily
very
accessible.
That was very important to her. And I remember just abusing her for this and being like, this is so stupid. Why would you do this? Like, do what everybody else does. That's the way to do it.
And then she became her
Fast
mother.
forward
And then
15 years. And I also was I couldn't believe that we were moving out of our first apartment. I like had a really weird time doing that. I cried so much that month. I was so like, also it wasn't, we were moving into our new home.
Right. You had a lot of temporary
transition period. We were in a transition
But I think
period.
you also really underestimated how much stuff you had.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did.
You were like, I'll just throw that cabinet
Yeah.
into a bag, and we're like,
Yeah.
we fit 1/8 into this bag.
This was my first move on that was just me.
Yeah.
That was, and I totally underestimated it, but I was also like willing it all that this wasn't real. Like, I didn't have to worry about it. So I was a little bit in denial. So between bad habits, or not really learning how to, I think, do it the most probably efficient way. Denial, and an emotional wreck, and just underestimating how much stuff we had. That first move was a problem.
Yeah.
Next move will
Next
be a little
move,
bit more
little bit
smooth,
better,
I think. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is not at all our topic for today.
Sorry.
We needed to do a quick like brain dump.
Yeah.
We haven't seen enough of each other actually off camera to do that. But it all does kind of come together. So we are talking about the idea of the beauty of restoring balance. And I want to start with that word balance. And like, let's just get a quick, like, what's your gut reaction to that word?
It's not like ooh or like I don't like it. Like I think it is a nice thing to feel, say the word balance, but I just don't.
So it evokes generally positive feelings.
Not negative.
in
Nothing
you.
negative
Okay.
necessarily.
Joy?
Yeah.
Agree, but a slight anxiety, only because I want it so bad. And every day I feel like I wake up with a sense of, okay, how am I going to manage? I literally have that word in my head almost every day. How am I going to achieve balance? And it almost leans into like, well, that's not done. That's not done. That's not done. So I don't know if that's possible today.
Okay.
So it's something I want so badly in my life and feel like I fall short constantly.
Yes. I think I'm kind of in the middle, and I feel like I've had phases where I've swung to the extremes of like, okay, I am pursuing balance. This is my priority. This is what I'm going to do. And then there are other times like, I don't believe in that word because it's like,
It's impossible.
It's impossible to achieve, or it puts too much pressure to do something, that you can't maintain. Like maybe you can get there for like a minute and then you can't maintain it. So we had decided a while ago that this was going to be our sort of introductory topic. And it just so happens that I was looking at Joanna Gaines on Instagram. And it's the whole topic of their most recent journal, Magnolia
She
Journal.
is the queen, man.
Love her. But I thought it was really interesting, and I screenshotted what she was saying about it, because when she introduced it, she kind of started in saying like the word balance has never sat right with me, and I didn't like it, and I kind of ran from it. And she's like, and then my team like brought this to me, and my first reaction was like, ugh, like I don't want to go there. But she then sort of had some introspection about like, why do I have those feelings? And she realized, that it was a lot about chasing balance for the wrong reasons, of like trying to achieve perfection and how you can't sustain that. And so she decided to like, okay, we're gonna lean into this. And they went after, I think, collecting different stories. And she calls it like a gentler way to seek harmony among everything that we're holding. And she posted this picture of, it's like a, I don't know, painting or drawing of, I think, her kind of like walking a tightrope. And she said, I've started to wonder if the most important thing to feeling steady isn't actually what we're holding, or how well or how equally we're holding it. What if the most important things are those holding us up? For me, that looks like belief that runs deep and good connection with my family. It looks like time spent taking in beauty. What I like about the feeling of steadiness is that it speaks to the state of my soul more than to my schedule. And I
Wow.
loved that so much.
That's, yeah.
Of like the state of your
God.
soul more than your schedule.
My soul is singing.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Right?
was
Like that
beautiful.
is like, yes. And I kind of like how she shifted. She's starts talking about the word balance because that's what we're used to hearing, but then sort of shifts that into the word steadiness. And yeah, I think that my schedule might always be chaotic. And I feel like I'm constantly bartering in a way with my time of like, okay, I can let go of this, but then it's because I'm taking on this
else,
or, you know, am I feeling relaxed? Am I feeling at peace? Do I have extra time? And like, you know, then that becomes sort of a burden. But I like the idea that it's not all tied to that, but it's like in just this internal steadiness and what does my soul feel. So I loved the way that she just shifted that a little
Yeah.
bit.
I'm still soaking it in a little bit, like a sponge.
Yeah.
Let
I feel
it
like
soak.
it's kind of the idea of like grounding yourself. Like what are you putting your roots into that aren't just for every single day, but that actually are for this long-term feeling, kind of like that. Like, okay, is it your family? What are you actually pouring into that isn't just going to give you this quick satisfaction? It's really this progression or this long-term journey. So, or season.
That visual she gave was so good about balancing something or what are we holding versus what are we standing on to just go off of what you're saying. Like if you do think about balance, you think of like the weights, right? Like the scales and one being heavier than the other and making sure that, okay, like almost like the waitress with the trays coming out, like I got to make sure that I'm good. But if my foundation is strong and I remember the things that are important in life too, like our relationship with God, our relationship with each other, our relationship with our husbands, like if we remember that those are the foundation, maybe everything else that we're juggling, maybe those things even get smaller too.
Get lighter.
Right.
I think, yeah.
That's like such an epiphany for me. But I love that she was afraid to broach the topic, but then like that's so telling too. Like if we dive into things that normally scare us, we may actually get some clearing in our minds about it. I love that. That was so
say
good.
that I've never actually, that I can remember, actually thought of the word balance. Like when you say like, it's like, yeah, it's a positive. I don't really have anything negative towards it, but I don't think I've actually been like, okay, how can I like figure out my life? How can I make sure? That's never been a word that's come to mind, but like steadiness and feeling consistent or feeling, you know, good in the moment, whatever those feelings are, that's what I felt. But I've never brought it to that like big term of balance. So like what she's saying, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I've never had that.
Balance
that thought before.
Balance to me always provoked the thoughts of mind, body, soul, and making sure all those three
That's where
areas.
you kind of hear it
That's
mostly,
where
right?
that's where all those three areas, because typically it's so much easier to lean into one or even two and neglect one or two. So I've definitely been on a, I don't even know. I've been on a journey. I've been on something. I don't know, of trying to again wake up every day with making sure that these three areas are checked off. That's a tough way to live every day. Yeah.
And I think I like the visual of the scales in the sense of debunking that thought of balance, because I think that's what I think of is like, how do I stay like this? And it's like, that's impossible because something is going to, out of your control, is
Get
going to
put
drop
on you. Yes.
you know, on you. That is always going to be slightly shifting it. And then I felt like, to me, that's like, well, I've failed. Something has, you know, brought me out and I have to get back to that. But if you're thinking like, okay, that's happening above the surface level and the scales are always going to go back and forth, but it's more about what's happening beneath the surface of what that foundation is, of who's holding you up. And we've talked about that. We've definitely seen that in our lives, right? Like when one of us is having like a rough day, having each other to just like get it out and know that you're holding up those burdens with me makes me feel lighter, you know, as it happens. But have you, so you kind of just answered this question of like, no, you haven't like consciously or intentionally tried to pursue feeling on the surface level, feeling balanced or like having
feel like
that.
I might have done that internally in a way without knowing it, but not in my outside every day.
Right.
Like, I don't think I've really.
It's not like a conscious thought that you're thinking.
Yeah.
And you sound like maybe you've
I'm on the other end of the
attempted
spectrum.
that through like checklists and things like that of trying to get yourself organized and whatnot. And you've had mixed reviews on that. Some days it's worked, some days it hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's life though.
Yeah.
Right? Like some days, especially in this whole last 3 months, it's been transition after transition. And
We'll talk about that because I feel like, so the first time that you moved out of your apartment into a temporary living situation, it sort of like threw you, I think,
did.
because you were
Badly.
living in physical chaos and that affected you like mentally and emotionally.
Physically, even.
Even physically. Like it
was rough.
really threw you.
it was rough. Yeah, it was really bad. And I realize in those times, like I try to pride myself on not being someone who is constantly saying things like my anxiety. Like I don't want to even like take ownership of that. Like I've gotten to the point where I recognize that it's something that I battle with, but I don't need to say it like it's a part of like it's like my leg. Like it's not a part of me, an extension of me. Like I don't want to really accept that because I know that I have control over it. But in that first move, we moved into my in-laws for a week and a half.
So, like a short
and then
time.
we moved into this temporary living situation. And then we moved back to my in-laws, and then we moved into our home. So,
But the second time, when you moved back into my parents' house, you like mentally readied yourself.
it was almost, it was so funny. And I remember talking to you about this in the car one day. And I remember thinking, I think the situation I'm living in now is more chaotic than it was 3 months ago. Like there's more stuff everywhere somehow, and there's more clutter and more chaos, but I am so much more at peace. And of course, part of that was there was a goal clear goal we had in front of us. We weren't going into a temporary situation. We were going to a permanent situation. So that settled me so much. And yes, I was still breaking out. Yes, there was so much stuff to do. My body wasn't reacting great because there was still stress on you, but my inner peace was so much stronger. And I think that gave me kind of a revelation of, okay, even in the temporary situation, I still can now look back on everything that happened this year and say, things do work out. Like even if you don't see the end from the beginning, like we did in the second move where we saw the house, we were under contract, everything was going great. Even though we couldn't see that in the first move, that was still in my future. Right. It was still there. Like there has to be an element of like, obviously trusting God, that's what we believe, but like also look at the track record. Like things are going to work out. Letting yourself be so overwhelmed is not adding anything to your life. If anything, it's taking away. So the choice of balance, that's what it's become for me. It's like choosing peace, choosing to rest, and things will work. Things will work.
It'll work out.
Yes. And probably even better and faster if you can get yourself under control instead of feeling like you are so scattered and so overwhelmed. The hardest part for me was realizing things aren't happening to me. I'm letting them happen, and I need to make a conscious choice. Yeah.
So I feel like that. Okay, so that is the perfect definition, explanation of what I think of, like of that inner beauty of like there can be total chaos going on around me, but one, you're handling the situation this time better than you did the last. You're choosing peace and balance, and that's going to change the lens that you're looking at everything else through. Like, you've still encountered, all sorts of different challenges, even since moving into, a more permanent living space. But you're going through it, being able to like, yes, this is frustrating or this is annoying. But you're like, I can see the beauty of everything that's around me and feel really grounded in that. And so that's like, I feel like the internal. I feel like I've definitely experienced that as well, but also the very practical external of like when my home is tidy before I go to bed, and if I make the choice, like I could stay up an extra hour and watch a show that I don't really need to watch, or I can go to sleep, and I make that choice to get the extra hour of sleep. Or, you know, whatever it is, if I'm like, oh, I actually drank water today, or, you know, those things, I do feel physically better. I'm so much happier and less cranky when I get enough sleep. That those things, those simple things, like hugely change my outlook. They change how I interact with my family. They change how easily triggered I am. And I feel like yeah, when you can start the day on a good note.
It's so true.
Because just because you've taken the time to like put the laundry away and go to bed an hour earlier, and then you wake up and you're like, I'm in the Sound of Music. Yay! And everything's beautiful. I'm like, you know, I get kind of frustrated with myself because it's like the answers are so obvious. I'm not like, I wonder how I could start my day on a better note or in a better mood. It's like, I know exactly what that is. Well, it's just a lack of discipline, I guess.
On that note, can we each talk about, because it is so easy for me to immediately identify if I said, what's something that immediately throws you off balance? What is something that could happen that throws you off immediately? Like mine is so fast to identify.
Me too. Rebecca's like, nothing throws me off. I'm gonna say traffic, bad drivers. That throws Rebecca off.
Having an empty tank of gas in the morning. That I'm like, ugh. That
throws
just makes me like, because it's like, do I have time? I'm like, I have to have time, but we're gonna be pushing it.
Yeah, like when someone cuts her off, she's like, oh.
Yeah.
And then when I cut someone off, I'm like, the
You
Lord's
deserve
grace.
this.
The Lord's grace. It's okay.
For me, it's time. If I'm rushing, and it's just because I didn't give myself enough time. It's like I should have gotten up when my alarm went off instead of snoozing it, or just something unexpected happens. You know, you take milk out of the fridge and it spills everywhere, and whatever that is, and then I have to rush. That puts me in such a bad mood.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us yours?
Mine is Thomas. More specifically, when Thomas is literally it seems like he's walking just through the room, and then he'll look at me and he'll say this thing, and I don't know why it does it. I'm working on it, guys, but he'll be like, yeah, we're going over next week, or they're coming over in a couple days, or I made dinner plans for, I did something about him adding something to the calendar, maybe just not talking about it with me first. Maybe that's what it is, or something about my schedule being continuously more filled up immediately makes me feel like I just got whiplash for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know why it happens to me. I'm in the beginning of our marriage, it was way worse. So I've gotten to the point where I can now be like, deep breaths. Great, can't wait for that to happen.
So excited.
Well, I feel like you are definitely doing social things, even though you enjoy them, it takes coins from you.
It takes so much.
Whereas Thomas gets filled 100% from doing those things.
I gain energy from resting, which I never thought I was like this, but I gain energy from resting really alone. Yeah. And he gains it from being with his friends and with people. Yeah. So it's bizarre that, of course, like that's is,
like, and I just find too, like, because I definitely get thrown when Miles does stuff like that, but he just, it's all about the delivery for me. Like sometimes I'm like, why would you deliver that information like right now? Like you think now is the best time? Like I'm like 1 foot out the door already, or I'm like
Grayson swinging from the chandeliers.
or like companies coming through the door and I'm trying to finish dinner, and you're like,
by the way,
and it's always like, here's 4 things, and I'm like you know, we have no homeowners insurance, and I have to go to work early tomorrow, so I can't help with the kids, and this, and I'm just like,
Yep.
I can't address that
Yep.
effectively right
Yep.
now. So why would you just dump that
Yeah.
on me?
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So that
Yeah.
that throws me off.
Whereas I feel like if Artie was like, we're gonna go, you'd be like, yeah.
Rebecca's like, I'm not gonna remember that in an hour anyway, so whatever.
we have had some interesting chats about that, and I'm in Miles in the circumstance where I'm like holding it in, and I'm like, when's the perfect time to say this, and then I forget to say it, and then it's like a day before. Then I'm like, by the way, or like if it involves
So you are
him-
the one causing the imbalance.
Yeah.
And we have like tried a shared calendar. It's too much. It adds too many things to the count, like for him to see. So I really have been trying to learn to like the second I set something up, or if I need to go back and forth with him, I need to do it immediately. And
That's good though that you know that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we're working on execution of that. But it
Awareness,
is,
yeah.
Awareness is the
it's
first
mostly
step.
that I just have to get better at being like, as small as it is, it's the same thing. If I just present it and say, hey, this is happening in a week or two,
Yeah.
it's so much better. Even if it is a day before, I'll be like, remember we talked about this, and it's a little bit less of like, a punch to the face.
To be fair to you, though, Artie is not home every night because of his schedule
Yes,
as a fireman.
It is difficult.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, because some days I'm like, oh, he's not even home. I don't even have to tell him about this.
Yeah.
Right. Or just
Sometimes.
like, it's just, you don't necessarily want to bother him with the text and you don't have that FaceTime.
Correct.
So in case you need to bring that up to your defense. But I've actually found Miles and I had the same thing. We tried a shared digital calendar and that did not work
Yeah.
because
that is our lives.
It was
Okay.
too much
we cannot
overlap.
function without that. Yeah.
So
It's
the
funny.
thing that has worked for us is we have our own separate online calendars, but we have a physical calendar on the wall in the calendar.
And that's what I think I want to try now.
And that is like, as we pass by, like we'll jot something down onto it and we'll and it's like it's in a shared space that we're in a lot. So we're both in there, like one of us will look at it and just sort of be like, okay, so let's look at this week or let's coming up this weekend. And then it gives us a chance to talk about it.
I just feel like you opened up that piece of my brain just now that helps me realize that yes, it's easy for me to like blame Thomas when I'm feeling like out of whack, but there are 100% things that I do to him that make him feel shot.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I need
whoa.
and that's really good to recognize, like, yes, it's important to have balance in our own lives. Like we need that, but also
You're trying to
are we
balance.
also helping our loved ones and
Yeah,
keeping
help
their
their
lives
lives balanced.
too? That's really, I
Are
think that's a
we
good
testing it?
yeah, or are we making their lives infinitely more difficult? So there's so many areas that I could talk about that too, but that might be a good place to take a
I think
breath.
ultimately about what is bringing us that rest, that peace, that recharge, what's allowing us to have this more positive, optimistic outlook and make things a little bit easier. So if you have anything that has made that a little bit easier for you, or if you have your own definition of what balance looks like, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share. And most importantly, don't forget to enjoy the view wherever your ride takes you.